I feel like every time I play HOTS, Dota, or League, expectably, people are asking me which one is the best. Usually it doesn't come from a place of curiosity, from someone that doesn't play any of the three of them, but it comes from a place of wanting validation for your favorite game, which is fine. And they're looking to me to validate their favorite game, right? And even if I had a favorite, if I had an opinion, what am I, an influencer? That my opinion should also be yours? That's why I'm saying the only objective metric for which game people prefer to play or are being forced to play is the player count. And that's League, Dota, HOTS. So which one is best? I'm not going to tell you which one is best. It doesn't matter what I prefer. It only matters what you prefer and that you can play all of them and enjoy something different from all three of them. That's all that matters. Having said that, HOTS is the best. Objectively. But anyway, that's what it comes down to. And nothing really matters. A lot of people look to me for validation. You shouldn't need me to validate which one is the best game. Okay? Now, having said that, League of Legends is less complex than Dota, and HOTS is less complex than Dota. But it doesn't make it better or worse, because there's people in the world that have a pretty regular life and are then looking for a very deep, complex game to stimulate their noodle, which sometimes their work may not. And then there's people that have a very complex life that are looking for something simple to blow off some steam. Can you say which one is better? Which game is better for those people? Or can you just say what's better for you? Yeah, they're grey noodle. So look, some people are gonna wanna play HOTS because it's lighthearted. Right? It's funny and it's lighthearted. Some people are gonna wanna play League because it's easy entry. It's the most popular. It's a lot of micro mechanics in the fights, like a lot of fighting mechanics. It's easy to learn. The easiest, I think. Because even though HOTS is supposed to be Blizzard's attempt, Blizzard's nomination for the accessible free-for-all MOBA, it actually makes itself relatively complex regardless. And complexity is not always the same as depth of strategy. It makes itself relatively complex via having 15 different maps. That we weren't allowed to call maps, but were actually called battlegrounds. And it wasn't a MOBA, it was a hero brawler. Right? It tried to be different. But 14, 15 different maps adds complexity. But who's to say what's the best? Strategy does not always equal to depth. Why is that? You can make it really complex. Complexity does not always equal strategy and depth. Why? You can make it really complex to put a broadsword in an inventory if you gate it behind 13 steps, 2 quests, a paywall. You hide it in 17 menus. It's very complex, but it's not very interesting, right? So we need to try and stop equating complexity with depth. Complexity is actually mostly a bad thing. Right? We look at complex games, we're like, oh yeah, I appreciate the hell out of this game. But we need to separate all the different characteristics of a game and say that complexity is actually not a good thing. Sometimes complexity is good. When is it good? If it is complex to open a bottle of bleach. It's good, because what's inside is not for everyone to reach. Likewise, sometimes it can be good for a game to be complex in order to give a sense of accomplishment when you get past it. But it is better when the path to complexity is also enjoyable and not needlessly complex. So for instance, in Dota 2, it can be kind of complex to figure out how to build Octarine core. You need all these different boosters and so on. Energy booster, and then we got the purple booster, we got the red the vitality booster, and then we need a recipe, and we need... Right? That's pretty complex. But at the very least, once you assemble all those, it automatically assembles. What would be needlessly complex is if you get all the ingredients, and then you must physically walk to the shop to buy the item, and only then does it assemble, because you don't have a courier, you can't bring recipes, you have to buy them on the shop. That would be needlessly complex and nothing to be proud of, even if that's how we did it in the old days. Now, which game is deeper, League or Dota, strategically? I assume Dota, because there's just more tidbits all over the map. There's a lot of creeps, a lot of different objectives, a lot of camps. They respawn very quickly. There's a lot of different item combinations that you can do that intrinsically hugely change how the heroes played. So I do also think it is more deep. And again, that's not necessarily a better thing because it comes down to preference. I like deep games. And I like especially to play deep games that are popular with an audience already, with a large group of people. First of all, it feeds that little social stimulation inside of me that says you're part of something bigger. The feeling I never had in school when all my schoolmates were like mad about soccer/football. They're like, oh my god, look at this sports team, they're so cool. Like, I never felt that, right? But I feel the same thing you guys feel when a video game character is really cool, or when a hero is really cool to play. So I feel part of something larger, and that makes it exciting to be part of a scene like League and Dota 2. And was also more exciting in HOTS, and now a little bit less so, right? Because Blizzard ruined their reputation a little bit. So there's that. Then I like to be part of a deep strategical game because I can relate with people about the game, right? Instead of me having to just be the educator where I explain how the game is working and I'm trying to find an audience that I can connect with, which feeds my social appreciation of like enjoying something together, because we're social animals, right? I like enjoying something that I appreciate with someone else that appreciates it. But if I have to teach it to you first, it takes a long time until we can appreciate it on the same level. When I enter the Dota and League scene, not everyone is pro, but many of you knew the game better than I did when I started out, and still know many things about the game, even when I'm higher MMR, that you appreciate or that you know, and that you can teach me and I can teach you, you teach me, I teach you, Pokemon. And that makes it cool to play a game that's already popular with people because we can connect on that instead of me just teaching it. Let's say if I suddenly start my favorite unknown turn-based strategy game, what usually happens is people don't know what's happening, so I have to explain it. Much easier for me to begin playing a game like Dota or League that already has a large amount of appreciators. Dota also has very complex draft, but I'll tell you another thing. When I started playing Dota, people were looking for the same validation versus comparison questions for me, and people kept asking me, so which one's more complicated? Which one's more complex? Is it Dota or Warcraft 3? And I said, definitely Warcraft 3. And there was a lot of pushback from chat. They're like, no, it's not true, it's not true. And I was convinced. And now I'm not so convinced anymore. So it is possible for opinions to change as you take in new information and you get more experience. So while I now think Dota is more complex than HOTS, Warcraft 3 or League, that may not be the same in a year from now or a half year from now. Damn, that's the question that broke the camel's back. I have been ignoring and evading questions. Which one is the better MOBA? Because there's so much desperation behind some of those questions. And it's like, if I told you this one is better, like, is that gonna make anyone happier? And is it even true? Because that's just like a snapshot of my opinion right now. It's like, oh yeah, I like to prefer to play this one a little bit better now. When I played HOTS was better. Then I played Dota, Dota's better. I played League. Oh, I just had a bad day in Dota because I got greased. But in League, I'm having fun in the shit leagues, right? Like I'm iron level. Oh no, League is better. If I keep telling that, like, does that answer it once and for all with the same intensity and burning desire that this question has been, demanding from me? So tell me once and for all, which one's better? No, we're not going to go there. There is no better one. There's only whatever do you like to get out of these games. And that's why I'm playing all these different MOBAs, is to show you what all these different games have to offer to you. And maybe I'll do a comparison video at some point and say, this one has I think they're best in that. This one has and this one has and then like, okay, this is what they have to offer you. Which one do you like? What do you generally like? And then you can pick. I thought this was the comparison video. No, not yet. I mean, I can give you a little taste. Do you think HOTS would have been more successful with items in the standard MOBA map? No, I think HOTS' greatest strength and greatest weakness, besides, whatever Blizzard fucked up about it, is the shared XP thing. The shared XP thing creates, we're in this as a team. but it also removes the power fantasy of a megalomaniac just running rampant. Like that game just now that I lost as Victor, we were losing that game, 4 surrenders, but we got an ace. We got a second ace. I triple killed, 4 killed. That almost never happens in HOTS, where you become this really strong god in the game that can like take everyone out, right? That feeling is what partially created HOTS, I believe, in its current form, is that everyone is equal. It's a communist MOBA, right? Everyone does damage, everyone has a good health pool, there's a lot of healing, you all play together, shared XP. What is League's worst aspect? I think the client. As much joy as all the music videos and all the amazing marketing that Riot does for League bring, as much hype as it brings, worlds, all the cinematics, the trailers and everything, that brings up League's esteem and excitement. The gameplay itself is good. It's not super beautiful graphics, but it's quite clear. It's minimalistic, it's easy to see everything, and I'll be covering this in a future comparison video, right? But the client is like, I feel like the client sucks a little bit of that hype right out of you. And I'm trying to stay inside the client as little as I can. The client is like this because they had to make it work for... Don't defend them, Loud Arc. Don't defend them. Because a lot of people run it on old PC. You can make it better and still have it perform well. Come on. They're a billion, multi-billion dollar company. They can make a lightweight client that looks better. What's Dota's worst aspect? I think it's... first of all, it is very difficult to get into. It's difficult to learn. I think that's not a good thing. It makes Dota players quite elitist, actually. Because after learning it, which was very difficult, they feel like they're better than other people, than non-Dota players. So it makes them a little toxic and arrogant. And but on the flip side, it's also hard to learn the game, which is not a good thing, because you want to have new players in the game because it keeps things fresh. I think the second bad thing about Dota is like when you're in a really despair losing game, it can still take quite long until the fatality. HOTS finishes quickly always. League you can surrender, but Dota can take a long time. You could be in like a 30-minute losing animation and it feels like thumb screws. And I see a lot of other things that people have about Dota style or the gameplay. I don't think any of those are the worst. I think these two are the worst, but that's just my opinion, of course. But I think the new player experience for Dota, if you can get past the, I have to learn this and it's complicated, was actually quite good. I feel like both the League and Dota new player experience were not bad. I think they were good. But then my brother played Dota and he found it really complex. And I was there to coach him in person. But he played League and he felt like he could just get into it right away.